Hello everyone, welcome to my Adesanya versus Pyfer prediction video. I didn't make one last weekend for UFC London, Evloev versus Murphy. I was busy, had a lot of stuff going on, couldn't make the time. But we are here with this prediction video, Adesanya versus Pyfer. This card is sneakily good, man. There's some bangers on here. Um, and we're starting off with Alexia Thainara versus Bruno Brazil. I think you gotta go Alexia Thainara here. Now Bruno Brazil did beat her 8 years ago. I think it was around 8 years ago, but just an underdeveloped Alexia Thainara, and over the years she has proven to be better, in my opinion, than Bruno Brazil. Alexia Thainara is a good grappler. She's got some power on the feet too as well. And Bruno Brazil, she's a fighting nerd, but she's just not good, man. She has a lot of losses recently. And Alexia Thainara is, I think, 2-0 in the UFC. She finished Molly McCann, and she beat Loma Lookboonmee as well, but I can't remember off the top of my head if she finished her or not. But regardless, that's an impressive performance. Loma Lookboonmee is not she's not a bum. And Bruno Brazil's not a bum either, but I think that Alexia Thainara is going to have some grappling dominance here. Bruno Brazil submitted her last time. I see Alexia Thainara submitting her this time around. She's just a better, more well-rounded fighter. Bruno Brazil is probably going to be technically better on the feet, but she's not going to be as effective. She doesn't have the punching power or, just the ability to hurt somebody like Alexia Thainara does. So whether it's on the feet or on the ground, I see Alexia Thainara being better here, having the advantages and doing the damage. And she's probably going to get a submission here over Bruno Brazil. Moving on, Ricky Simón versus Adrian Yanez. Now, I went back and forth on this one. I feel like you gotta go Ricky Simón. You don't have to, but Ricky Simón. Does this not just feel like a fight that Adrian Yanez would lose, Yanez, not the best durability. KO'd in the first round by Rob Font. I mean, what are we doing here? Not a good performance against Vinicius Salvador, I believe was his name. Not a good performance. Got beaten by Daniel Marcos. Got finished by Jonathan Martinez. He just has not had a good career, especially as of late. And Ricky Simón really hasn't either. But let's be honest here. Adrian Yanez would not beat this always happens in my videos. I would never forget these guys' names if I wasn't recording a video. But since I'm recording a video, the name refuses to not come to me to make me look fucking retarded. What's his name? Raoni Barcelos. Adrian Yanez would not beat Raoni Barcelos. I'm even questioning at this point in Adrian Yanez's career if he would even beat Javid Basharat. Like that's kind of the level we're at, and I don't think Javid Basharat is good. I think Adrian Yanez is talented and he has the ability to be good, but he just hasn't been doing it. It's just as simple as that. And I mean, boxing advantage is obviously Yanez. But power advantage is Simón. Grappling advantage is Simón. Now, Simón is not the most offensive grappler. He's not a guy that goes out there like Marab and just shoots takedowns. But he will shoot takedowns every now and then. He will hold you up against the cage. He will implement that threat at the very least. And I think against Adrian Yanez, that's going to be really, really effective. Get Adrian Yanez, because Adrian Yanez can't grapple. He doesn't have no takedown defense. He don't know what to do when he's on his back. And he knows that. So he knows he can't afford to get taken down. So I think Ricky Simón's going to go out there, shoot a couple of takedowns. Whether he gets them or not is irrelevant. He's going to implement that threat of the takedown, which in return will make his striking more effective. And if he gets takedowns, then good for him. That's even better for him. So it's not irrelevant. I don't know why I said that. But And Ricky Simone doesn't have the worst hands in the world. Ricky Simone boxed with Mario Bautista. Mario Bautista is like 10 times the level of Adrian Yanez as a fighter. And he did beat Ricky Simone, but Ricky Simone went to war with him. Ricky was landing some good shots. He had good moments. Those good moments, I think, drown Adrian Yanez. As much as I do like Adrian Yanez, I just feel like Ricky Simone's a bit too well-rounded, and he's just got a bit too much to his game. Now, both of these guys are pretty fadeable. I can see both these guys losing a lot to a lot of people. Ricky Simone is very beatable. Adrian Yanez can win this fight, of course. He's had some time out. I think it's early 2024 he last fought. And he's just, if he's worked on his game enough, he could probably go in there and beat Ricky Simone. But it's just a trustworthy issue for me. I don't want to trust Adrian Yanez. If you watch Adrian Yanez's career, he has clearly had a issue with discipline in his career. The discipline to get better, to add new things to his game, it just isn't there. I can't trust. If there's anything here I can trust, it's at least the activity of Ricky Simone. He's been fighting. He fought 3 times last year. And Adrian Yanez, Adrian Yanez is young. This is the time in your career where you should be fighting a lot. I just feel like his heart's not in it. His mind's not in it. Whereas Ricky Simone still wants to be somebody. And I just think the physical skills plus the mental difference here will push Ricky Simone to a win. But I'm going to go with a decision win, though. 29-28 decision for Ricky Simone. Navajo Sterling versus Bruno Lopez. I would like to see Navajo Sterling get a finish at some point in his UFC career, man. And I feel like he is gonna get it here. Bruno Lopez, I think they've given this to Navajo Sterling as a layup. Because let's be real, what does Bruno Lopez really bring? Navajo Sterling is big, good striking, undefeated. He's clean on the feet. Bruno Lopez isn't any of those. There's no doubt in my mind that Navajo Sterling's winning this fight. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to get a finish, his first UFC finish. I think he should. Against Bruno Lopez, who only has 2 losses, but both losses are by knockout. I just feel like this should be very winnable for Navajo Sterling and should be very finishable. Because Bruno Lopez is slow. I think he's older as well. His boxing isn't good. Maybe his grappling could give some resistance to Navajo Sterling, but not enough. Navajo Sterling trains at CKB, Adesanya later. Volkanovski, Dan Hooker. These are good guys. So I'm going to go with Navajo Sterling by knockout round 2. I think Bruno Lopez is going to get hurt in the first round by a shot. He's going to shoot in and hold Navajo Sterling up against the fence for the remainder of the first round after getting hurt. And then round 2, Navajo Sterling's going to put him away early in round 2. His striking is just on another level. Now, up to this point, Navajo Sterling has looked kind of like just any other fighter. He's not special. He hasn't separated himself as a true prospect to watch out for. But I'm hoping he does that here because they're giving you a free KO here, Sterling. You got to take this, and you got to get a KO here. Moving on to Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandez. Now, I feel like a lot of people are trusting in Gabriela Fernandez here, especially from what I've seen on Twitter. I have a take here that I think a lot of people will disagree with. I think Gabriela Fernandez is not a good fighter, and I think she caught lightning in a bottle when she beat Wang Kong. And I think Wang Kong is really good. I think Wang Kong would beat the shit out of Casey O'Neill and Gabriela Fernandez in a rematch. Um, so I think that was a lightning in the bottle moment for Fernandez, and a lot of people are still holding on to that. Because prior to that and after that, she hasn't done anything. Her last fight, she went to like a decision with, what's her name? Julia Stoliarenko, I want to say. I think her record's like 11-9 or something. One of the worst records, one of the worst fighters we've ever seen in UFC history. Julia Stoliarenko. I believe she also got like 0 finishes. And Gabriela Fernandez kind of almost lost to her. I know Casey O'Neill hasn't had the most impressive career as of late, but it's just better. Like, Casey O'Neill, in my opinion, should never have lost to the 2 girls she lost to, Jennifer Maia or Ariana Lipski, I think. I think both of those girls beat Gabriel Fernandez, especially at the time that Casey O'Neill lost to him. So, and Casey O'Neill's been out. She's been out for a while, more than a year, I believe. I'm trusting in her to be working on the things she needs to work on. But let's be real, Casey O'Neill's striking is very clean. It's way better than Gabriela Fernandez's. Her grappling has hopefully improved. Gabriela Fernandez could probably find some success in the grappling department. But I'm just going to trust that Casey O'Neill has, sharpened that part of her game, which has given her problems in the past. But her striking, I think her striking is levels above Gabriela Fernandez. I think she's very safe on the feet against Fernandez. And even on the ground, she's probably going to be relatively safe. And she's probably going to be able to get back to her feet anytime she ever gets taken down, if at all. So I'm going Casey O'Neill here just by being a better striker with the grappling to defend. I'm going to go with Casey O'Neill by decision, though. It's very hard to bet on a finish in women's MMA. But Casey O'Neill, decision, is what I'm going with. I just think she's better. Moving on. Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. Heavyweight slop. Heavyweight slop is what this is. Now, Tyrell Fortune is a finisher. I think he's got like 11 wins or something like that. And 17 wins, 11 finishes is what it is. He's a finisher, man. He really is. He's got power in his hand. He's got nukes. But he is just a fucking heavyweight slop. He's slow. He's not that technical. Marcin Tybura is not that good either, but he's got some crafty wins. Marcin Tybura is crafty. He beat Mark, I was going to say Mark something. It's his name, Mick Parkin. He's beaten, people forget, man. Marcin Tybura submitted Tai Tuivasa, man. I'm going with Tyrell Fortune, though, just because Marcin Tybura is just a fat heavyweight. He's a fat fuck, and he's slow, and his boxing is really bad. I think Tyrell Fortune's boxing is probably a bit better with better power. Marcin Tybura is a very powerless heavyweight, and I really don't like that. It's very hard for me to pick somebody who has noticeably no power in the heavyweight division. Tyrell Fortune is not good, but he's probably going to be able to find that chin of Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura made us think that Ante Delija was some killer, just for him to lose a striking battle to Sergey Spivak, who got TKO'd on the feet by Jailton Almeida, who actively avoids fights. Okay, I'm starting to drift off course and use some MMA math here, but Tyrell Fortune's probably going to get it done by knockout in round 1, just based off the power difference. Like, I don't think Tyrell Fortune is really going to have to worry about the power coming back at him, and that's crazy to say at heavyweight. But Marcin Tybura just hasn't shown any power or knockout ability in the heavyweight division, and I know Tyrell Fortune this is his UFC debut, and UFC heavyweights suck ass. So he's been fighting these absolute cans outside of the UFC, and maybe they're clouding my vision on how good how good the power is of Tyrell Fortune, but fuck it, man. I'm going to trust in it. I'm going to trust in that power. I'm going to say Tyrell Fortune gets a knockout in the first round. At the end of the day, though, whether I'm right or wrong, this is just heavyweight slop. And these guys can't fight. And it's just going to be up to, I guess, whoever has more power. And I'm going with Tyro Fortune there. Moving on, Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. I see a lot of people trying to craftily pick Lance Gibson Jr., but I got to go Chase Hooper here. Lance Gibson Jr., in my opinion, lost very clearly to Bobby Green. I think a split is ridiculous, and I even think calling it a close fight is ridiculous. I think Bobby Green outclassed him, beat the shit out of him, and just clearly won in every way. I don't know what people are seeing when they say that it was close, but maybe that's just how I viewed it. But let's be real here. Lance Gibson Jr. is not good. There's only two reasons that he's in the UFC. One is that he's Canadian, and they want Canadians in the UFC. Two is because his dad fought on like UFC 2 or something like that. So he's kind of like a little Nepo baby coming in here because his dad was some very old fighter in the UFC. But without either of those things, let's be real, Lance Gibson Jr. never would have made it to the UFC. He's not good. He doesn't have any good grappling, or his striking is very lackluster. Chase Hooper, on the other hand, is weak as hell, but he's at least got some noticeable skills. Some notable skills. He does have some grappling. His jiu-jitsu is slick, despite being physically weak. His striking isn't really anything to call home about either, but at the very least, he dropped Slava Claus, man. And I know Slava Claus sucks, and he's easy to beat, but he's typically easy to beat if you're a grappler. As a striker, Slava Claus is quite decent, and he went to a draw with Nazim Sadikov, and he, KO'd some other guys in the UFC, and he's been kind of hard to, even Mark Jacasey couldn't beat him on the feet. He had to go to grappling, and there's something to talk about with Slava Claus, especially on the feet. And Chase Hooper straight up dropped him and then subbed him. I think Slava Claus would probably beat Lance Gibson Jr., to be honest with you. And again, I'm not trying to use MMA math here, but I'm just comparing how these two stack up. And Chase Hooper can obviously lose. He could lose to anybody. I mean, look at his build. He's weak. He's got no strength. He could just be out-muscled here against Lance Gibson Jr. But he's just more proven, and I guess I like that in this matchup. Lance Gibson Jr. is no Alexander Hernandez. He's no Steve Garcia, So I'm gonna trust in Chase Hooper here. Hopefully he doesn't goon this camp. And I think he should get it done. I think they should cut Lance Gibson Jr. after this. Moving on. Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tofik Musayev. This is an absolute layup for Ignacio Bahamondes. Ignacio Bahamondes is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. But this is just a straight up layup. I mean, I don't like this matchup at all because Tofik Musayev doesn't really offer any kind of resistance. He's nowhere near Ignacio Bahamondes' level on the feet. Tofik Musayev might be able to have some sort of grappling. But then again, I'm going to be honest here, guys. I think Ignacio Bahamondes is going to be looking to grapple here a little bit. He trains with Bilal Muhammad and Brendan Allen, and those are two grapplers at the top of their divisions. And they're both grapplers at the top of the divisions. And Ignacio Bahamondes has a very slick and underrated submission game, especially off of his back. We've seen it against Jalen Turner, who, again, is a fighter I don't think Tofik Musayev could even threaten. I don't think he would even threaten Jalen Turner, Ignacio Bahamondes' camp, they're probably drilling takedowns and grappling. They want to see more grappling out of Ignacio because you want to be well-rounded in this sport. And I think with Bilal in his corner, and Brennan Allen, and all those other guys, all those other grapplers in the team, Ignacio Bahamondes can already strike. He doesn't, really. He can already strike. The grappling, especially offensively, might need some work. So they're probably going to be pushing for that here, especially since he could probably afford to fail his grappling against Tofik Musayev. If you try to grapple against certain opponents like grapplers, you could get subbed on a takedown entry or reverse on the ground and end up losing. I don't really think there's much danger in failing to grapple Tofik Musayev. And on the feet, again, it's not even a competition. Ignacio Bahamondes is better. I think Ignacio Bahamondes is going to go out here and experiment a bit. I'm going to be honest. I think he can afford to treat Tofik Musayev like a sparring partner. Go out there, try some new moves without risk, you know? But if things get too heavy, I think he can just sleep Tofik Musayev on the feet, which is actually what I'm going to predict. I'm going to predict that Ignacio Bahamondes gets a round 1 KO in a nasty way. Because Tofik Musayev he was decent in Ryzen, but this isn't Ryzen, man. This is, the UFC. This is the elite. And even some Ryzen has some different rules. They're not just MMA, so just different kind of training, I guess. Ignacio is more used to it. Ignacio Bahamondes is gonna get it done. I'm gonna say round 1 KO. He could get a submission here, man. He could get a crafty submission here, especially if he is gonna implement some grappling. I could see it, but his submission ability is more off of his back, like a defensive kind of mode. But I'm gonna go Ignacio Bahamondes round 1 KO on the feet. Moving on to my boy Terrence T-Rex McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. It is always a nerve-wracking time when Terrence McKinney's in there. Terrence McKinney's top 5 for me in the UFC in terms of favorites. I love Terrence McKinney. One of the most entertaining fighters in UFC history. Kill or be killed. I'm going to be real here, guys. I think that Terrence McKinney is very good, and I don't think he has shown even half his talent. Microphone turned off. I don't know why. As I was saying, I think Terrence McKinney is way better than he has ever shown. I don't think he has even shown half his talent. Because he just goes out there swinging like a madman, and most times he does get the KO, but when he does it, man, it does turn quite catastrophic for Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney said he's going to be smarter here. I don't believe it. He said he was going to fight smarter after the loss to Esteban Ribovics, and he just went right back to it. But to be fair, though, he did beat can't remember his name because he is a bum, to be fair. And then he beat Slava Claus by submission. And then he goes in there, starts beating the shit out of Chris Duncan. But Chris Duncan is a tough SOB, man. Chris Duncan was getting smacked around for like 2 minutes by Terrence McKinney. And Terrence couldn't put him out, man. And Terrence McKinney just wilted again. I don't think Kyle Nelson is anywhere near the durability of Chris Duncan. So I think Terrence McKinney can go out there and simply just sleep Kyle Nelson out cold in like a minute or two tops. But if you're Terrence McKinney, do you really want to risk that again? Terrence McKinney is very dangerous, very powerful and quick, athletic. He doesn't need to have such an explosive start to a fight. He just doesn't. Yet he does it anyway. Kyle Nelson, though, I don't really rate him that high. If you look at both performances against Matt Frivola, Terrence McKinney knocked him out in 7 seconds. I think Kyle Nelson did knock out Matt Frivola at the end of the first round, and I do think they should have stopped it. But that was at the end of the first round, almost 5 minutes in. So the danger level is definitely very much in the corner of Terrence McKinney. I think, just like a lot of Terrence McKinney fights, the only way he loses this is if he blows his load early and doesn't get the finish and ends up wilting later on. That being said, if this ever gets out of the first round, I think Kyle Nelson's probably got it in the bag. But I do think Terrence McKinney will get him out of there in the first round. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Terrence McKinney, I think he's a great grappler. And I think this fight is going to play out similarly to the Slava Claus fight. Bell's going to ring. Terrence is going to go for a takedown. He gets it because he's just a much better grappler than Kyle Nelson. He's then going to submit Kyle Nelson. I don't think there's going to be any more than 2 striking exchanges on the feet before Terrence McKinney gets him down and submits him. I think Terrence McKinney is one of the most underrated grapplers in the sport. I think Terrence McKinney is a better grappler than a lot of these ranked guys. He just doesn't survive. Either he or his opponents don't survive long enough for him to really prove that. It's just a take that I have that I think is true, despite it not really being shown. Because he beat Fares Ziam. He's got some other good wins. Matt Favola, So, Kyle Nelson, he is okay. I just don't know if I rate it. I think if Terrence McKinney loses this, I think that's really bad for his career. Because I think Kyle Nelson is such a beatable guy for Terrence McKinney. So I am going Terrence McKinney here by first round submission. Kyle Nelson, he got KO'd in the first round by Steve Garcia. Beat Matt Favola officially by decision. Where a lot of people do just finish Matt Favola, let's be real. So I don't really think that Terrence McKinney has to worry too much about a finishing potential here from Kyle Nelson, even after the first round. I feel like Kyle Nelson just really isn't that kind of guy. Plus, he lost to Billy Q. And I love to use that against people. I think Billy Q is like one of the worst fighters I've ever seen in my life. And I think losing to him, God, it's just god-awful. I like to, even though it was a while ago, I love to use Billy Q losses against people. But yeah, I got Terrence McKinney here by first round submission. He can get it by first round KO as well. I just don't think he's got to worry much here, Like Chris Duncan would do fucking disgusting things to Kyle Nelson in a round, I just feel like he's not that good. But yeah, Terrence McKinney first round sub is my guess. Moving on. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Yusri Belgorui. This one is probably going to backfire on me. Or has one of the bigger chances to. I'm going Yusri Belgorui. He's just such a good striker, man. He is such a good striker. Fought Pereira 3 times. Fought Adesanya twice. Went to a split with Adesanya once. They arguably could have won. And Mansour Abdul Malik, man, he is such an athlete. Quick, fast twitch, powerful, athletic as hell. Just a real athlete is Abdul Malik. But he was getting tuned up. He was getting tuned up by Cody Brundage. Let that sink in. He was getting tuned up. But Cody Brundage was looking real good in that fight before it ended up a draw. And I'm sorry. Finishing Antonio Tricoli doesn't tell me shit. It doesn't tell me shit. Yusri Belgorui beat Azamat Bekhoev, who is also not a good win. But he looked fantastic, man. He looked better against Bekhoev than Mansour Abdul Malik has looked against anybody in the UFC. And Bekhoev is better than everyone Mansour has fought, I think. He's better than Tricoli. He's better than Cody Brundage. I think the striking gap here is massively in the favor of Yuri Belgarui. And my prediction for him is just trusting him to defend the takedowns. Even though he got taken down like 4 times against Bekov, he got up very quickly from them all. And Mansour Abdulmalik is a better grappler probably than Azamat Bekov, but I'm just going to trust in him, man. I think that the gap in the striking is so large that it's just going to be too much for Mansour Abdulmalik. I'm going with Yuri Belgarui by KO round 3. Moving on. Julian Erosa versus Larry Douglas. I'm going Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa beat Charles Jourdain, the best fighter in the UFC. You know? People forget, man. Charles Jourdain, the best fighter in the UFC, man. And Julian Erosa somehow pulled off a win against him. Somehow, some way. You know? No, but for real. Larry and Douglas KOing Cam Teague. That doesn't tell me anything. Cam Teague is like that. Julian Erosa would slime out Cam Teague around as well. You know? And Julian Erosa is so crafty, man. He's got really good submissions, especially guillotines, Darce chokes. I mean, you know, he's got them all, really good chokes. Julian Erosa's crafty, man. He's like a crafty unk out there. But I don't think he's that old. I can't see his age on this screen, but I mean, Larian Douglas is decent. He's got some power in his hands for sure. And he probably will win most of the striking exchanges here against Julian Erosa. I just haven't seen anything from him, though. I mean, Julian Erosa's got some good wins in the UFC, you know? And he's very crafty. He's got tricks up his sleeve. You can have Julian Erosa where you want him, but he's got tricks up his sleeve, man, that he can just pull out of nowhere. And Larian Douglas, you know, this is his debut. Last fight is against Cam Teague. And other than Cam Teague, he doesn't have any... Larian Douglas doesn't have any good wins. I just need to see something more from him before I pick him against Julian Erosa. I'm going to go with Julian Erosa by guillotine submission at some point in the fight. That's just what I think. You know, I haven't done that much tape watching on Larian Douglas, but I watched a few fights, and they're just not impressive to me. Julian Erosa has impressed me a lot more, you know. So, I'm going Julian Erosa by guillotine. Moving on. Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. I've never once picked Michael Chiesa to win a fight. I've been watching for like 8 years. A little bit more than that, maybe. Since 2017, I've been watching. I have never once picked Michael Chiesa to win a fight. I picked Tony Ferguson, which in hindsight obviously was such a shit prediction. But that just shows you how little I think of Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa just isn't good, and he's not capable of hurting another human being. He's got no striking. He's got no power. His grappling is okay against somebody that either don't know how to grapple at all, almost like himself, or an old Tony Ferguson that just has brittle bones, you know? Nico Price still has got some... If he's got anything, it's at least some pop in his shots, man. He could probably pop Michael Chiesa a few times, put some damage on him. Can he defend the grappling is the question, though. And this is a retirement fight. Generally, I don't like picking you to win your retirement fight. I usually never do it, you know? I picked against Poirier. I picked against Korean Zombie. I picked against Anthony Smith. I tend to always pick against you if we know it's your retirement fight going in, because then there's just a different mindset, you know. And even if Michael Chiesa is better than Nico Price, maybe that mindset alone is enough for Nico Price to sneak in a win here. But Nico Price has been losing a lot. But if we're being real here, Nico Price kind of gets finished easily, and Michael Chiesa just doesn't. He doesn't have Veretennikov power. You know, he doesn't have. He doesn't have any kind of power to put Nico Price out. So I think Nico Price. I'm gonna go Nico Price here, guys. I'm gonna go Nico Price here. I think at this point, yeah, Nico Price looked all right against, Dembo Garambo, I think. And he looked all right against... He beat Alex Morono in 2024, you know? I think Alex Morono would beat Michael Chiesa. It's so hard to pick Michael Chiesa, man. Because he's just not good. He doesn't really have anything. No striking. He's one of those, BJJ guys that thinks that they could just come to UFC and submit everyone and end up having a horrible career. I'm going Nico Price, just based off damage factor. He's more able to do damage, and I don't think Michael Chiesa is dominant enough to avoid the damage. So, but I do think it's going to be a decision. I'm going Nico Price decision. Moving on, the co-main event: Alexa Grasso, Macy Barber. I'm going Macy Barber here. Alexa Grasso's got a jab, and that's about it. She doesn't throw many combinations. She's not known for her hooks or her uppercuts or her overhands or any other move but a jab. And she's got less than zero power as well. And she was absolutely styled on against Natalia Silva. Lost to Valentina Shevchenko. And if we're being real here, guys, the judges kind of love Macy Barber. So if it goes to a decision and it's close, it's probably going to be Macy Barber regardless. However, the judges kind of do like Alexa Grasso as well. You know, giving her that draw against Shevchenko in a fight that I thought she clearly lost. So I guess we'll see which side the judges are on. Probably Macy Barber. And I just think Macy Barber's a bit more dynamic. She's got some good kicks. She's got more punches. She's got some hooks in her. Uppercuts, side kicks, spinning kicks, body kicks, head kicks, leg kicks. She's just more dynamic. I don't see her getting caught up in the Alexa Grasso jab for 3 rounds. Maybe it'll take her a round to get past it, but once she gets past it, she's just going to be kicking. She's going to be kicking the legs of Alexa Grasso. She's going to be kicking the body, kicking the head, kicking the arms, just kicking her about and putting her own jabs in as well. She's just more dynamic, got more tools. I like to pick the person with the most tools unless the other person uses their more limited tools better than the other uses their, more dynamic tools. But I don't think that's the case here. I don't think Alexa Grasso's jab is anything too crazy. It is a good jab, but it doesn't do power. It doesn't really push you back, or it doesn't really discourage you because, But I'm going to go Macy Barber by decision. Just a better, more dynamic striker. And I don't think Alexa Grasso has the grappling to really stop Macy Barber as well. And Macy Barber just beat Karine Silva. She's a good grappler. I believe she just beat Karine Silva. I got to fact check that. She did. She looked really good in that fight too, especially her takedown defense. So, all right. Macy Barber decision. Moving on to the main event. What I've been waiting for. I'm going Israel Adesanya. I just am. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet, man. I've already got about 40 minutes in here. I'm going to just keep it very easy to understand here. There is a difference between being a dangerous middleweight and the kind of dangerous middleweight that gives Israel Adesanya problems. And Joe Pyfer is not that guy. He's not that guy. I watched Jack Hermanson completely figure Joe Pyfer out on the feet. And that wasn't that long ago. And he is very weak to low kicks. If any of you guys remember the Abdul Razak Al Hassan fight, Razak Al Hassan was destroying Joe Pyfer's legs before he got submitted. Kevin Gastelum was low kicking Joe Pyfer. Jack Hermanson was low kicking Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer is very basic on the feet. Very basic. He has power, a lot of it. But his overhand is really his one tool, and it's so telegraphed. It's not that quick either. Israel Adesanya will see him. Will see all his overhands coming from a mile away. And he's going to low kick Pyfer. Round after round, he's going to destroy his legs. At some point, Joe Pyfer won't be able to walk. And at that point, Israel Adesanya will get the TKO finish in round 4. It's my prediction. Israel Adesanya TKO round 4. And Israel Adesanya will get it done, man. Joe Pyfer can grapple here. I just don't know how effective it's going to be. Because I think Joe Pyfer, although he is a good grappler, it is a lot of strength-based grappling instead of technique-based. And he can definitely overpower Israel Adesanya. But Israel's been here. Been here, done that. I don't think you're going to get away with just overpowering him. You know? And I think that's just kind of it, man. I watched Jack Hermanson figure Joe Pyfer out. We know Joe Pyfer doesn't like low kicks. Israel Adesanya is beautiful at low kicks. They're one of his best weapons, you know? He's also just faster, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. Feels like he's got something to prove. That is a dangerous Adesanya. So, I think Israel Adesanya's got it. Got it in the bag. Got it in the bag, man. Oh, yeah. I just want to point out, yes, Adesanya was KO'd in his last fight by Imavov. But Imavov's not the biggest finisher. And I think a lot of the reason he was able to get that finish was because it was a bit more of a surprise. Adesanya knows Joe Pyfer can knock him out. He knows he's got that kind of power. And Pyfer's got less tools than Imavov as well. Imavov can catch you at different angles. He's a good boxer. He's got great uppercuts. He's got some hooks. He's got kicks, man. His kicks are brutal too. Joe Pyfer's got an overhand, man. It's not going to be enough. When you put Adesanya against a very dangerous striker that he knows can knock him out, like an Alex Pereira, like a Jan Blachowicz, like a Dricus du Plessis, you know? He is much more composed, and he's much more, you know, much more, how do I want to describe it? When you put him up against those guys, he fights better, more cautiously, like he knows a mistake can cost him. I think he just felt like he could afford to make mistakes against Imavov. And that punch caught him by surprise. There are no surprises with Joe Pyfer. You know he's a powerful guy that can knock you out, you know? And Adesanya is going to fight accordingly. Like, Adesanya is really good at game planning as well. He knows Joe Pyfer's only got that one overhand, you know? I just think he's going to be way too prepared. 44 minutes, that's enough. That's a wrap. Adesanya, TKO round 4. I'm going to head out. Appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think. And we'll see how well I do on picks. Bye.